The leather wallet slipped from Jessica's fingers the moment the rogue wave crashed against her knees, and she watched in dismay as the ocean current dragged it away from her grasp before she could react. She lunged forward, nearly losing her balance in the foaming surf, but the expensive designer wallet was already being pulled into deeper water. Her heart sank as she realized that wallet contained not just her credit cards and identification, but irreplaceable photographs and the business card her late father had given her before he passed away. Jessica Crawford stood motionless in the water, her designer dress clinging to her legs, feeling utterly defeated. The sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, but she barely noticed the beauty surrounding her. This beach trip was supposed to clear her mind after another exhausting week running Crawford Enterprises, the multinational corporation she had inherited and grown into an empire. Now she could not even keep track of her personal belongings. "Madam, excuse me." A deep voice called from somewhere behind her. Jessica turned to see a man jogging toward her from the shoreline, holding something dark in his hand. As he got closer, she realized with shock that he was carrying her wallet. Water dripped from his tanned, muscular arms, and his faded T-shirt clung to his broad chest. His dark hair was wet and pushed back from his face, and his brown eyes held genuine concern. "I think this is yours," he said, slightly out of breath as he reached her. "I saw it floating and managed to grab it before it went too far out." Jessica took the wallet from him with trembling hands, too stunned to speak immediately. She opened it to find everything still inside, though waterlogged. The photograph of her father, miraculously, seemed intact. "Thank you," she finally managed, her voice catching. "Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me." The man gave her a warm, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "No problem. I am glad I could help. Those waves can be sneaky this time of evening." "I should give you a reward," Jessica said, already reaching for a credit card. He held up his hands, shaking his head. "No need for that. Anyone would have done the same thing." "Please, you saved something very valuable to me," Jessica insisted. "Really, it is okay." He glanced back toward the beach where a small boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, was building something in the sand. "My son and I were just enjoying the evening. No reward necessary." Jessica followed his gaze to the child, who was now waving enthusiastically at them. The boy had his father's dark hair and bright smile. Something about the scene touched her in a way she had not expected. "Well, at least let me know your name," she said. "I am Jessica. Zachary Oliver. That is my son, Miles, over there." There was unmistakable pride in his voice when he mentioned his boy. "It is very nice to meet you, Zachary, and thank you again, truly." He nodded, gave her another warm smile, and jogged back to his son. Jessica watched him go, noticing the worn state of his clothes and the patched backpack sitting near where Miles played. When Zachary reached his son, the boy immediately started talking excitedly, pointing at what looked like an elaborate sand castle. Zachary crouched down beside him, giving the structure his complete attention, and Jessica felt an unexpected warmth spread through her chest at the sight. She made her way back to her own spot on the beach, where her designer handbag and expensive beach towel waited. As she dried off and gathered her things, she kept glancing over at Zachary and his son. They seemed completely absorbed in their project, working together with easy companionship. Something about their dynamic fascinated her. In her world of board meetings and business negotiations, genuine connections like that seemed rare. Jessica drove back to her beach house that evening with her mind wandering back to the encounter more often than she expected. She told herself it was just gratitude for retrieving her wallet, but she knew it was more than that. There was something about Zachary's eyes, his genuine kindness, and the way he lit up when talking about his son that stayed with her. The next morning, Jessica found herself walking the same stretch of beach, ostensibly for her morning exercise. She definitely was not looking for anyone in particular. At least that is what she told herself. But when she spotted Zachary and Miles collecting shells near the water's edge, her heart gave an unexpected flutter. "Good morning," she called out, approaching them with what she hoped was a casual smile. Zachary looked up, and his face brightened with recognition. "Hey, how is the wallet doing?" "Better. I spent half the night drying out the contents with a hair dryer," Jessica said, laughing, "but everything survived." Miles tugged on his father's shirt. "Dad, is that the lady whose wallet you saved?" "It is, buddy." "Miles, this is Miss Jessica. Jessica, this is my son, Miles." "Just Jessica is fine," she said, crouching down to Miles's level. "That is a very impressive shell collection you have there." Miles's eyes widened with excitement. "Thank you. Dad and I come here every Sunday. We are looking for different kinds to add to our collection at home." "This one is my favorite." He held up a perfectly spiral shell with pink and white striations. "That is beautiful," Jessica said sincerely. "I used to collect shells when I was your age." "Really?" Miles looked at her with newfound interest. "Really, though I never found one quite that nice." Zachary smiled at the exchange, and Jessica stood back up, suddenly feeling self-conscious. There was something about his gaze that made her feel exposed, as if he could see past the designer clothes and carefully maintained image to something more vulnerable underneath. "Do you live nearby?" Zachary asked. "I have a house just up the coast. I try to come down on weekends when work permits." Jessica gestured vaguely in the direction of her property. "What about you?" "We have an apartment about 20 minutes inland. The rent is cheaper there, and Miles's school is nearby. We make the drive to the beach whenever we can. It is his favorite place." There was no shame in his voice, just matter-of-fact honesty. Jessica found it refreshing compared to the posturing and status games she dealt with constantly in her professional life. "Dad, can Jessica help us look for shells?" Miles asked, looking up at Zachary with hopeful eyes. Zachary glanced at Jessica with a slightly apologetic expression. "I am sure Jessica has things to do, buddy." "Actually, I am free this morning," Jessica heard herself say. "I would love to help if that is okay." Miles cheered, and Zachary's smile widened. "Sure, we would be happy to have the company." For the next hour, Jessica found herself wading through the shallows with Zachary and Miles, searching for interesting shells and sea glass. Miles kept up a constant stream of chatter, telling her about school, his friends, and his favorite dinosaurs. Zachary interjected occasionally with gentle corrections or additions, and Jessica was struck by how patient and attentive he was with his son. "So what do you do for work?" Zachary asked during a moment when Miles had run ahead to investigate a tide pool. Jessica hesitated. She usually did not like revealing her position early in conversations, as it tended to change how people treated her. "I work in business management," she said, which was technically true. "What about you?" "I am a mechanic. I work at a garage in town. It is not glamorous, but it pays the bills and I get to work with my hands." He held up his calloused palms with a self-deprecating grin. "As you can probably tell." "There is nothing wrong with honest work," Jessica said. "My father always said that skilled trades were undervalued in our society." "Your father sounds like he was a wise man." "He was." Jessica felt the familiar ache in her chest. "I lost him 2 years ago." "I am sorry." Zachary's voice was soft with genuine sympathy. "I lost Miles's mother 3 years ago, cancer. It is just the two of us now." Jessica's heart clenched at the pain she saw flash across his face. "I am so sorry, Zachary. That must have been incredibly difficult." "It was. It still is sometimes, but we are managing. Miles keeps me going." He looked at his son with such fierce love that Jessica felt her throat tighten with emotion. "He is lucky to have you," she said quietly. "I am the lucky one," Zachary replied. Miles came running back with a piece of green sea glass. "Look what I found." The moment of heavy emotion passed, but something had shifted between Jessica and Zachary. There was a new understanding, a shared recognition of loss and resilience. When they finally parted ways later that morning, Jessica gave Miles her phone number written on a piece of paper from her bag. "In case you want to go shell hunting again," she said, though she was looking at Zachary when she said it. "We would like that," Zachary said, taking the paper. His fingers brushed against hers briefly, and Jessica felt a spark of electricity at the contact. Over the following weeks, Jessica found herself making excuses to spend more time at the beach house. She arranged to work remotely on Fridays so she could have longer weekends, and inevitably, she would run into Zachary and Miles during their Sunday beach visits. What started as casual encounters evolved into planned meetings. They would walk along the shore, build sand castles with Miles, or simply sit and talk while the boy played nearby. Jessica learned that Zachary had been working at the same garage for 8 years, slowly building his reputation and skills. He took pride in his work, even though the pay barely covered their expenses. Miles was in 2nd grade and loved science and art. Zachary attended every school event, helped with homework every night, and made sure his son never felt the absence of his mother more than necessary. Zachary learned that Jessica had a sharp wit and a generous heart hidden beneath her polished exterior. She was fiercely intelligent and driven, but also lonely in ways she rarely acknowledged. She spoke about her father often, and Zachary began to understand how much his loss still affected her. One Saturday afternoon, in late summer, Jessica invited them to her beach house for lunch. She had been nervous about it all morning, wanting everything to be perfect, but not wanting to seem like she was showing off. When Zachary pulled up in his old pickup truck, she felt a moment of panic about the contrast between their lives, but Miles's enthusiastic, "Wow," when he saw the house made her smile despite her nerves. "This place is huge," Miles said, his eyes wide. "It is a bit much for one person," Jessica admitted. "Come on in." She had prepared sandwiches and fresh fruit, keeping it casual and simple. They ate on the deck, overlooking the ocean, and Miles entertained them with stories about his week at summer camp. Zachary seemed relaxed, though Jessica noticed him taking in the details of the house with quiet observation. After lunch, Miles asked if he could explore the beach visible from the deck, and Zachary went with him, making sure he stayed within sight. Jessica watched them from the deck, her heart doing that now familiar flip when she saw Zachary lift Miles onto his shoulders so he could get a better view of something in the distance. When they came back up, Miles was yawning despite his protests that he was not tired. Zachary laughed and ruffled his hair. "Why don't you rest on that comfortable-looking couch for a bit, buddy?" Miles wanted to argue, but another yawn overtook him. Jessica showed them to the living room and brought out a soft blanket. Within minutes, Miles was asleep, curled up on the couch with the blanket tucked around him. Zachary and Jessica moved back out to the deck, keeping the door open so they could hear if Miles woke up. The afternoon sun was warm but not too hot, and a gentle breeze came off the ocean. "Thank you for having us," Zachary said. "Miles has not stopped talking about you all week." "He is a wonderful kid," Jessica said. "You have done an amazing job raising him." "There are days I wonder if I am doing enough," Zachary admitted. "I cannot give him the things other kids have. His clothes are mostly secondhand. We cannot afford expensive vacations or the latest toys. Sometimes I worry that he is missing out." "He has something much more valuable," Jessica said firmly. "He has a father who loves him and shows up for him every single day. Trust me, that is worth more than any material possession." Zachary looked at her intently. "You really believe that? I know it. My father gave me every advantage money could buy, but the thing I treasure most is the time he spent with me. The conversations we had, the values he taught me, the way he made me feel valued and heard. That is what Miles will remember." "Your father raised an incredible woman," Zachary said softly. Jessica felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Thank you." "I should be honest about something," Zachary said, his expression becoming serious. "I looked you up online after the second time we met. I know who you are, Jessica. I know you are not just in business management. You run Crawford Enterprises." Jessica's stomach dropped. "Why did not you say anything?" because I liked the way you relaxed around us. I liked that you could just be yourself without any pretense, and I did not want it to change anything." He met her eyes steadily. "Does it bother you that I know?" "No," Jessica said after a moment. "I am actually relieved. I hated keeping that from you, but I was afraid it would make things weird." "The only thing that makes things weird is when I think about how different our lives are," Zachary said with a slight laugh. "You run a billion-dollar company, and I fix cars for a living." "So what? That does not matter to me, Zachary." "Maybe not now, but what about your friends, your colleagues? What would they think if they knew you were spending your weekends with a broke mechanic and his kid?" "I do not care what they think," Jessica said, surprising herself with the vehemence in her voice. "The people in my business world are often shallow and self-serving. Being with you and Miles reminds me of what really matters. You make me happy, happier than I have been in years." Zachary stared at her, something intense and unreadable in his expression. "Jessica, I am not expecting anything," she said quickly. "I just wanted you to know." "I think about you constantly," Zachary said quietly. "When I am at work, when I am making dinner, when I am lying in bed at night. I tell myself it is impossible, that we are from completely different worlds, but I cannot seem to stop." Jessica's heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that I have feelings for you, real feelings. And it terrifies me because I have no idea how this could possibly work." "Maybe we do not need to figure it all out right now," Jessica said, moving closer to him. "Maybe we just take it one day at a time and see where it leads." Zachary reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle. "I have not felt this way about anyone since Miles's mother. I did not think I would ever feel this way again." "Neither did I," Jessica whispered. He leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, but Jessica closed the remaining distance between them. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft and sweet and filled with promise. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. "Dad." Miles's sleepy voice came from inside. They broke apart, and Zachary went inside to check on his son. Jessica remained on the deck, touching her lips and feeling like a teenager with her first crush. Everything about this was complicated, but in that moment, she did not care. The rest of the summer passed in a blur of stolen moments and growing intimacy. Jessica and Zachary were careful not to rush things, especially for Miles's sake. But the connection between them deepened with each passing week. They went on actual dates when Zachary could arrange a babysitter, though Jessica insisted on paying the babysitter since she knew money was tight for him. He resisted at first but eventually accepted, understanding it was important to her to contribute. Jessica met Zachary's small circle of friends, mostly other mechanics and guys from his apartment building. They were warm and welcoming, though she could tell some of them were confused about what she saw in their world. She brought Zachary to a charity gala that Crawford Enterprises sponsored, and he cleaned up remarkably well in a borrowed suit. He held his own with her business associates, charming them with his straightforward honesty and lack of pretension. But the real test came with Miles. Jessica knew that Zachary would never fully commit to a relationship unless he was certain it was good for his son. She spent as much time with Miles as Zachary would allow, learning his likes and dislikes, his fears and dreams. She helped him with art projects, listened to his rambling stories about school, and cheered at his soccer games. Slowly but surely, Miles began to warm up to her presence in their lives. One evening in late September, Zachary invited Jessica to his apartment for dinner. It was a small, modest place with worn furniture and peeling paint, but it was clean and filled with evidence of the life Zachary had built with his son. Pictures of Miles at various ages covered the refrigerator. Drawings and school projects were carefully displayed on shelves. A bookcase overflowed with library books and well-loved toys. "It is not much," Zachary said, looking almost embarrassed. "It is a home," Jessica said firmly. "That is everything." Miles helped his father cook spaghetti, standing on a step stool to stir the sauce. Jessica set the table and poured drinks, feeling more domestic and content than she ever had in her expensive beach house. They ate together, laughing and talking, and Jessica felt a sense of belonging she had not experienced before her father died. After dinner, Miles asked if Jessica wanted to see his room. She followed him down the narrow hallway to a small bedroom painted blue and decorated with dinosaur posters. He showed her his prized possessions, including his shell collection displayed in an old egg carton and a model airplane his father was helping him build. "Do you like my dad?" Miles asked suddenly, looking up at her with serious brown eyes. Jessica was taken aback by the direct question but decided he deserved an honest answer. "I like him very much. Like him, the way people do in movies." "Yes," Jessica said softly. "Like that." Miles considered this for a moment. "My mom died when I was 4. I do not remember her very much, but Dad says she was really nice and pretty and that she loved me a lot." "I am sure she did," Jessica said, her heart aching for this little boy who had lost so much so young. "Dad has been sad for a long time. He tries to hide it, but I know. But lately he has been happy again. I think it is because of you." Jessica felt tears prick her eyes. "Your dad is a very special person, and so are you." "I like you too," Miles said simply. "I think it would be okay if you wanted to be around more." "Thank you, Miles," Jessica managed to say around the lump in her throat. "That means more to me than you know." When she came back out to the living room, Zachary took one look at her face and pulled her aside. "What happened? Are you okay?" "I am fine," Jessica said, smiling through her tears. "Your son is amazing, Zachary, absolutely amazing." He looked relieved, then curious. "What did he say to you?" "He gave me his blessing, in his own way." Zachary's eyes grew suspiciously bright. "He did," Jessica nodded. "He said it would be okay if I wanted to be around more." Zachary pulled her into a tight embrace, and they stood there in his small living room, holding each other as if they could anchor themselves to this moment. When they finally pulled apart, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her with a tenderness that made her knees weak. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "I know it is fast, and I know we have obstacles to figure out, but I love you, Jessica Crawford." "I love you too," she said without hesitation. "I love you and I love your son, and I want to be part of your lives in whatever way works." The next few months brought challenges neither of them had anticipated. Jessica's assistant discovered the relationship, and word spread through the company. Some of her board members expressed concern about her dating someone unsuitable. Jessica shut down those conversations quickly and firmly, making it clear that her personal life was not up for discussion or debate. Zachary faced his own pressures. Some people in his life questioned Jessica's motives, suggesting she was slumming or that the relationship was some kind of charity project. He defended her fiercely, but Jessica knew the comments bothered him more than he let on. The financial disparity between them became a recurring source of tension. Jessica wanted to help with expenses, wanted to make their lives easier, but Zachary had his pride. They had their first real fight when Jessica tried to pay off his credit card debt without telling him. "I was trying to help," Jessica said, frustrated and hurt by his anger. "I do not need you to rescue me," Zachary shot back. "I have been taking care of myself and my son for years. We are not a charity case." "I never said you were. I just hate seeing you stressed about money when I have more than enough to help." "That is exactly the problem, Jessica. You do not understand. I need to be able to provide for my family. It is important to me. Having you swoop in and fix everything makes me feel useless." "That is ridiculous," Jessica said, but she could see the genuine pain in his eyes. "Is it? What do I bring to this relationship? You have everything: money, success, security. What can I possibly offer you that you do not already have?" "You," Jessica said simply. "Just you. Your kindness, your strength, your love. The way you make me laugh, the way you see me as more than my bank account or my company. The way you have taught me what really matters in life. That is what you bring, Zachary, and it is everything I need." He was quiet for a long moment, then pulled her close. I am sorry. I am just scared that one day you will wake up and realize you could have someone better, someone who fits into your world. I do not want someone from my world, Jessica said fiercely. I want you, only you. They worked through it, and through future disagreements, by communicating openly and trying to understand each other's perspectives. Jessica learned to be more sensitive about Zachary's need for independence. Zachary learned to accept help when it was offered out of love rather than pity. Christmas that year was magical. Jessica invited Zachary and Miles to spend the holiday at her beach house. She had it decorated beautifully, but made sure not to go overboard with gifts. The highlight was not the presents, but the time they spent together. They built a bonfire on the beach, roasted marshmallows, and told stories. Miles fell asleep between them on the couch while they watched a movie, and Jessica felt a profound sense of family. "This is the best Christmas we have had in years," Zachary said softly, careful not to wake his son. "For me too," Jessica agreed. "I want this to be permanent," Zachary said. "You, me, Miles. A family, but I do not know how to make it work practically. Your life is here and in the city with your company. Mine is inland with my job and Miles's school. I cannot ask you to give up everything you have built." "What if you did not have to?" Jessica said, an idea forming in her mind. "What if I hired you?" Zachary stiffened. "Jessica, hear me out. Crawford Enterprises owns a commercial property division. We have a fleet of vehicles that need maintenance. We contract out to a local garage, but I have been thinking about bringing that service in-house. We need someone to manage a repair shop for our vehicles. It would be a real job with real responsibilities, not charity. And it would pay more than what you are making now." "I do not know," Zachary said slowly. "It feels like what? An opportunity, because that is what it is, Zachary. You are an excellent mechanic. My fleet manager has been pushing for an in-house solution for months. This would actually benefit the company. The fact that it also benefits us is just a bonus. What about Miles? There are excellent schools near my city office, or we could find a place between the office and the beach so he could stay in his current school. We could make it work if we want to." Zachary was quiet, clearly thinking it through. "Can I have time to consider it? This is a big decision." "Of course," Jessica said. "Take all the time you need." It took Zachary 3 weeks to make his decision. He did his research, talked to people he trusted, and even met with Jessica's fleet manager to discuss the position in detail. Finally, he said yes. The transition was not easy. Zachary had to give notice at his old job, find a new apartment closer to the city, and help Miles adjust to the idea of changing schools. Jessica helped where she could but was careful not to overstep. She found them a comfortable townhouse halfway between the beach and the city, in an area with good schools and a lower cost of living than her neighborhood. She offered to cover the down payment as an early birthday present for Zachary, and after some debate, he accepted. Miles adjusted to his new school better than expected. He made friends quickly and loved being closer to the beach. Zachary thrived in his new position, bringing innovations to the vehicle maintenance program that impressed even Jessica's hardest-to-please executives. He worked hard, earned the respect of his team, and took pride in his contributions to the company. Their relationship deepened as they navigated the challenges together. Jessica loved the rhythm they developed, spending weeknights at their respective homes but coming together on weekends. She and Miles developed their own special bond. She attended his school events, helped with homework, and even coached him through his first experience with bullies at the new school. One Saturday afternoon in spring, almost a year after they had met on the beach, Jessica and Miles were making cookies while Zachary was out running errands. Miles was unusually quiet as he rolled out dough for sugar cookies. "What is on your mind?" Jessica asked. "Can I ask you something?" Miles said, looking up at her with serious eyes. "Of course." "Do you think you will marry my dad?" Jessica's hand froze on the rolling pin. "Would that be okay with you if I did?" "Yeah," Miles said. "I think it would be really good. Dad is happy with you, and I like having you around." You are kind of like a mom, except you are not my mom because my mom died. But you are like a different kind of mom. Does that make sense?" Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "It makes perfect sense, sweetheart, and I would be honored to be any kind of mother figure to you if that is what you want." "I want that," Miles said. Then, with childlike practicality, he added, "So are you going to marry him?" "I do not know," Jessica said honestly. "Your dad has not asked me." "Maybe you should ask him," Miles suggested. "My teacher says girls can do anything boys can do." Jessica laughed through her tears. "Your teacher is right about that." But as it turned out, Zachary had his own plans. 2 weeks later, he suggested they take a walk on the beach where they had first met. Miles was having a sleepover with a new friend, so it was just the two of them. The sun was setting, painting the sky in those same brilliant oranges and pinks Jessica remembered from that first evening. "This is where it all started," Zachary said as they walked along the water's edge. "You lost your wallet and I found it. It was the luckiest day of my life." "Mine too," Jessica said. "I have been thinking about that day a lot lately. How easily I could have not seen the wallet. How you could have decided not to come back the next day. How many small things could have gone differently and we never would have found each other." "But we did find each other," Jessica said. "We did. And you have changed my life in ways I never expected. You have given me hope and love and joy. You have been amazing with Miles. You have challenged me to be better while accepting me exactly as I am." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "Jessica Crawford, I do not have much to offer compared to what you already have. But I can promise you my whole heart, my complete devotion, and a lifetime of love and partnership." He dropped to one knee in the sand, pulling out a simple but beautiful ring. "Will you marry me?" Jessica was crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes, yes, of course I will marry you." He slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that tasted like salt air and tears and pure happiness. When they finally broke apart, Jessica noticed Miles standing a short distance away with Zachary's friend who had apparently brought him there. "You were in on this?" she called to Miles. The boy ran over, grinning widely. "Dad told me last week. Can I call you Mom now?" Jessica looked at Zachary, who nodded with emotion shining in his eyes. "If you want to," she told Miles. "I want to," he said firmly, and launched himself at both of them for a three-way hug. The engagement brought its own set of challenges. Jessica's mother, who she had deliberately kept at a distance during the relationship, was horrified that her daughter was marrying a mechanic. She flew in from her retirement community in Florida, specifically to talk Jessica out of it. "You are throwing your life away," her mother said over lunch at an expensive restaurant. "Your father built that company for you. He had dreams of you making an advantageous marriage that would benefit the business." "Dad wanted me to be happy," Jessica said firmly, "and Zachary makes me happy. Happier than I have ever been." "He is after your money," her mother insisted. "He is not. In fact, his pride almost cost us our relationship because he did not want to feel like he was taking advantage. Mom, I know you do not understand, but I love him. I love his son. They are going to be my family, and I need you to either accept that or step back." Her mother was silent for a long moment. "Your father would have liked him," she finally said quietly. "He always valued character over status." "He would have loved him," Jessica corrected. "And he would have adored Miles," her mother sighed. "I suppose I should meet this man who has captured your heart." The meeting between Jessica's mother and Zachary was tense at first, but Miles broke the ice with his natural enthusiasm and charm. By the end of the evening, Jessica's mother was smiling genuinely for the first time since she had arrived. She pulled Jessica aside before leaving. "He is good for you," she admitted. "I can see it in your eyes. You look happy and at peace. That is all your father and I ever really wanted for you." The wedding was planned for late summer, almost a year and a half after their first meeting. They decided on an intimate ceremony on the beach with close friends and family only. Jessica could have afforded an extravagant affair, but both she and Zachary wanted something simple and meaningful. The morning of the wedding, Jessica stood in her childhood bedroom at the beach house, looking at herself in the mirror. Her dress was elegant but not ostentatious, and she wore her father's watch along with her other jewelry. There was a knock on the door, and her mother entered. "You look beautiful," her mother said, tears already forming in her eyes. "I wish your father could see you." "I think he can," Jessica said softly. Her mother handed her a letter. "He left this for you to be opened on your wedding day. I have been holding on to it." With shaking hands, Jessica opened the envelope and read her father's familiar handwriting. "My dearest Jessica, if you are reading this, it means you have found someone who makes your heart sing. I could not be happier for you. Remember that true wealth is not measured in money or status, but in the quality of the relationships we build and the love we share. Marry someone who sees you for who you are, who challenges you to grow, who will stand beside you in both triumph and hardship. Marry for love, always love." "I am so proud of the woman you have become. Love always, Dad." Jessica was crying openly now, and her mother embraced her tightly. "He knew you would choose with your heart," her mother said. "He always knew." The ceremony was perfect in its simplicity. Miles served as ring bearer, taking his role very seriously. Jessica's small group of close friends and family sat on chairs in the sand while the sun shone overhead. When Zachary saw Jessica walking toward him, his face lit up with such pure joy and love that there was not a dry eye present. They exchanged vows they had written themselves. Zachary promised to support her dreams while challenging her to live fully in each moment. Jessica promised to honor his strength while building a life together as true partners. They both promised to put Miles first and to build a family founded on love, respect, and open communication. When the officiant pronounced them married, Zachary kissed her with a passion that made her forget everything but him. Then Miles joined them, and they stood together, a new family, while their friends and family cheered. The reception was held at Jessica's beach house, with catered food, music, and dancing. Jessica's business associates mixed with Zachary's mechanic friends, and surprisingly, everyone got along beautifully. Miles danced with abandon, dragging both Jessica and Zachary onto the makeshift dance floor repeatedly. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Jessica found herself standing on the deck with Zachary, watching the sunset. Miles had fallen asleep on a couch inside, exhausted from the excitement. "Happy?" Zachary asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Deliriously," Jessica said, leaning back against his chest. "How about you? Any regrets about marrying the CEO?" "My only regret is that I did not find you sooner," he said, kissing her neck softly. "Though I guess the timing was perfect. We both needed to go through what we went through to be ready for this." "I cannot believe this all started with a lost wallet," Jessica marveled. "Best wallet I ever retrieved," Zachary said with a laugh. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the colors paint the sky. Jessica thought about the journey that had brought them here, about all the obstacles they had overcome and the love they had built. She thought about her father's letter and knew he would approve of her choice. She thought about Miles sleeping inside and the family they were creating together. "I love you," she said, turning in his arms to face him. "I love you too," Zachary replied. "Always." The first year of marriage brought adjustments and compromises, but also deep satisfaction. They decided to live primarily in the townhouse Zachary had moved to, as it was close to Miles's school and Zachary's work. Jessica converted one of the rooms into a home office so she could work remotely several days a week. She still maintained her beach house for weekends, and when she needed to host company events. Miles thrived with the stability and love. His grades improved, he joined the school science club, and he started taking swimming lessons. Jessica attended every school event she could manage, and Zachary made sure to be present for all of them. They established family traditions, like Sunday beach walks and Friday movie nights. At work, Zachary continued to excel. He implemented a training program for young mechanics and developed a preventive maintenance schedule that saved the company significant money. Jessica was proud of his accomplishments, and he never let anyone dismiss his achievements as nepotism. He earned his place through hard work and skill. Jessica found that marriage and family gave her a new perspective on her business. She became more interested in work-life balance initiatives, improved parental leave policies, and programs that supported working families. Some of her more traditional board members resisted, but the changes improved employee satisfaction and retention. About 18 months after their wedding, Jessica started feeling unwell. She attributed it to stress at first, but when the symptoms persisted, Zachary insisted she see a doctor. The diagnosis surprised them both in the best possible way. "We are going to have a baby," Jessica announced at dinner that evening, watching both Zachary and Miles closely for their reactions. Zachary nearly dropped his fork. "You are pregnant?" "8 weeks along," Jessica confirmed. Miles looked confused for a moment, then excited. "I am going to be a big brother?" "You are," Jessica said, reaching over to take his hand. "How do you feel about that?" "That is so cool," Miles exclaimed. "Can I teach the baby stuff and help take care of it?" "Absolutely," Zachary said, though he still looked stunned. "You will be an excellent big brother." That night, after Miles went to bed, Zachary held Jessica close. "I cannot believe we are having a baby. Are you happy about it?" "I am terrified," Jessica admitted. "And excited and overwhelmed and yes, happy. So incredibly happy. How about you?" "Same. All of those things." He placed his hand gently on her still flat stomach. "I never thought I would get to do this again, have a baby with someone I love, build a family from the ground up." "You have given me so much, Jessica." "You have given me just as much," she said. "A family, a purpose beyond work, a reason to come home at night. I never knew I was missing this until I found you." The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Jessica continued working, though she scaled back her hours and delegated more responsibilities to her leadership team. Zachary was attentive and supportive, taking on more household responsibilities and making sure Jessica rested when she needed to. Miles was enthusiastically involved, helping decorate the nursery and reading baby books from the library. They decided to wait until the birth to find out the sex of the baby, wanting that element of surprise. The nursery was decorated in neutral greens and yellows, with a nature theme that incorporated both the beach and forest elements. Jessica's mother flew in as the due date approached, having transformed from skeptical to fully supportive over the past couple of years. She adored Zachary and doted on Miles, and she was thrilled about becoming a grandmother again. On a warm evening in early October, Jessica's water broke while she and Zachary were watching television. The next 12 hours were intense and exhausting and beautiful. Zachary never left her side, coaching her through contractions and whispering words of encouragement. When their daughter finally arrived, screaming lustily and perfect in every way, they both cried with joy and relief. "She is beautiful," Zachary said, his voice choked with emotion as he held their daughter for the first time. "She looks like you." "She has your nose," Jessica said with a tired smile. They named her Emma Olivia Oliver, and she quickly became the center of their universe. Miles was smitten with his baby sister from the first moment he saw her. He was gentle and helpful, always wanting to hold her or help with feeding and diaper changes. The first few months were exhausting, as new parenthood always is. They took turns with nighttime feedings, and Zachary's experience with Miles helped them navigate the challenges. Jessica took parental leave from work, something she would have thought impossible before. She discovered that stepping back did not mean the company fell apart. Her team stepped up, and she learned to trust them more fully. When Emma was 6 months old, Jessica gradually returned to work, but on a reduced schedule. She had learned that she did not need to be personally involved in every decision. She could be a CEO and a mother and a wife without sacrificing her sanity or her family relationships. On a Sunday morning in early spring, the 4 of them were at the beach where it all began. Emma was bundled in a carrier against Zachary's chest, sleeping peacefully. Miles was searching for shells to add to his collection, which now took up an entire bookshelf at home. Jessica walked beside Zachary, their hands clasped together. "Can you believe it has been almost 3 years since we met here?" Jessica asked. "Best 3 years of my life," Zachary said. "Even with the sleepless nights and dirty diapers," Jessica laughed. "Same, though I could use a full night's sleep." "She will get there," Zachary assured her. Miles was sleeping through the night by 8 months. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, watching Miles dart back and forth along the water's edge. Emma stirred and made small baby noises but did not wake. Everything felt right in a way Jessica had never experienced before. She had success, yes, and wealth and professional respect. But this feeling of family and belonging and unconditional love was worth more than all of it combined. "I was thinking," Zachary said, breaking into her thoughts. "Maybe we should buy a place actually on the beach, something we could all live in together. I know you love your beach house, but it is very much yours. I thought it might be nice to find something that is ours as a family." "I would like that," Jessica said, surprised by how much the idea appealed to her. "We could design it together, make it exactly what we need." "Nothing too fancy," Zachary said firmly, "just comfortable and functional. With a workshop for you," Jessica added, "and a home office for me and lots of space for the kids to play." "And a huge kitchen," Zachary said. "I have always wanted a kitchen with a big island." "And windows overlooking the ocean," Jessica continued. "And a garden for Emma to play in when she is older," Zachary said, looking down at his sleeping daughter with tender eyes. They started planning their dream house right there on the beach, taking turns adding features and laughing at some of the more outrageous suggestions. Miles joined them after a while, insisting they needed a treehouse and a secret room. They promised to consider it. Later that afternoon, back at the townhouse, Jessica was feeding Emma while Zachary made dinner. Miles was at the table doing homework, occasionally asking for help. The scene was domestic and ordinary and absolutely perfect. Jessica's phone buzzed with a work email, and she glanced at it before deciding it could wait until tomorrow. Nothing was more important than this moment. "Dad," Miles said suddenly, "do you think Mom would have liked Jessica?" The question hung in the air. Zachary stopped chopping vegetables and considered his answer carefully. "I think she would have loved Jessica. Your mom always wanted you to be happy and loved. I think she would be grateful that Jessica loves you so much and takes such good care of you." "I think so too," Miles said. "I still miss Mom sometimes, but I am glad Jessica is here." "It is okay to miss your mom and love Jessica," Zachary said gently. "You can have both feelings at the same time." "I know," Miles said. "Jessica told me that too." Jessica felt her eyes well up with tears, but they were good tears. She caught Zachary's eye across the room, and they shared a moment of understanding. Their family was not traditional, and it had come together in unexpected ways, but it was theirs, and it was real, and it was filled with love. As the years passed, they built that house on the beach. It took over a year to design and construct, but when it was finished, it was everything they had dreamed of. They moved in when Emma was 2 and Miles was 12. The house became a haven, a place where friends and family gathered, where memories were made, where love flourished. Miles grew into a thoughtful, intelligent young man. He excelled in science and decided he wanted to study marine biology. Jessica and Zachary supported his dreams, while making sure he understood the value of hard work and education. He never forgot where he came from or the struggles his father had faced. Those experiences made him compassionate and grounded. Emma was a spirited little girl with her mother's determination and her father's easy charm. She loved the beach and animals and anything that let her be outdoors. She adored her big brother and followed him everywhere when he was home. 3 years after Emma was born, Jessica and Zachary welcomed another daughter, Sophie. Their family felt complete with 3 children filling the house with noise and laughter and occasional chaos. Jessica had learned to truly balance her professional and personal lives, delegating effectively at work, and being fully present at home. Zachary was promoted to Director of Operations for all Crawford Enterprises facilities, a role that recognized his leadership abilities and innovative thinking. He earned every promotion through merit, and everyone who worked with him respected his integrity and skill. Jessica's mother moved closer to them when she turned 70, wanting to be near her grandchildren. She had fully embraced Zachary as her son-in-law and was actively involved in the children's lives. She often told Jessica how proud her father would have been of the life she had built. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Zachary surprised Jessica with a weekend getaway, just the two of them. Her mother and Miles tag-teamed watching Emma and Sophie. They returned to the same beach where they had met, staying at a small inn nearby. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Zachary asked as they walked along the shore at sunset. "When it was just you and your company and no one making demands on your time?" "Never," Jessica said without hesitation. "That life was empty compared to this. I was successful but lonely. Now I have everything that matters. No regrets," he pressed. "Only that I did not find you sooner," she said, echoing his words from their wedding night. "What about you? Do you ever wish you had married someone from your own background, someone who did not come with all the complications of wealth and business? Are you kidding?" "I got to marry the most incredible woman I have ever met. She is beautiful, brilliant, successful, and she loves me and my son. She gave me more children and a life I never dreamed possible. Why would I regret any of that?" "Because it is complicated sometimes," Jessica said. "People still make comments. Your friends, my business associates. People always talk," Zachary said with a shrug. "I stopped caring what they thought a long time ago. All that matters is us, our family, and the life we are building together." They found a spot on the sand and sat down. Jessica nestled against Zachary's chest as they watched the sun sink toward the horizon. The sky was painted in those familiar oranges and pinks, and Jessica thought about that first evening when a lost wallet had changed everything. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For finding my wallet, for being patient with me as I figured out what really mattered, for loving me and challenging me and building this beautiful life with me, for Miles and Emma and Sophie, for everything." "Thank you for taking a chance on a struggling mechanic with a kid and a lot of baggage," Zachary replied. "Thank you for seeing past the surface to what really mattered. Thank you for loving my son as your own. Thank you for giving me a reason to hope again." They kissed as the sun set. Two people from different worlds who had found their way to each other through chance and choice, through obstacles overcome and love strengthened. Their journey had not been easy, but it had been worth every challenge. As darkness fell and stars began to appear overhead, they walked back to the inn hand in hand, already missing their children and eager to get home to them. Because that is what they had built together, a home, not just a house. A family, not just people living under the same roof. A love that had started with a simple act of kindness and grown into something that would last a lifetime. Years later, when Miles graduated from college and Emma started middle school and Sophie began kindergarten, Jessica would look back on these years and recognize them as the foundation of everything good in her life. The day she lost her wallet at the beach had been the day she found her future, her family, her heart. And when she was old and gray, sitting on that same beach with Zachary beside her, watching their grandchildren play in the surf, she would squeeze his hand and whisper, "Best lost wallet ever." And he would laugh and agree, "Best find I ever made." Because sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes losing something leads to finding everything. And sometimes, a simple act of kindness can change the entire course of your life, leading you to a love deeper and truer than you ever imagined possible. That is what happened to Jessica Crawford and Zachary Oliver, two people from different worlds who found their way to each other and built a life filled with love, laughter, and countless beautiful moments. Their story was proof that real love transcends social status, wealth, and circumstances. It is found in everyday moments, in shared struggles and triumphs, in the choice to commit and keep choosing each other, day after day, year after year. And that kind of love, once found, is worth more than all the money in the world.